Last man standing. Korvax 7, Outer Rim Moon, 2279. The jungle breathed like a living thing. Moist, green air pressed against Gunnery Sergeant Eli Voss's skin, sticky with heat and silent judgment. Above the twisted canopy, the morning sun never broke through, just a gray light smeared across leaves fat with rain. Every shadow moved too slowly. Every sound came a second too late. Voss crouched in the underbrush, still as the dirt, eyes locked on the smoldering wreckage of Outpost Valor 30 meters ahead. What used to be a Terran mining relay was now a black smear on the red soil, ionite crystals glowing faintly from the cratered ground. He wiped the sweat off his brow with the back of a burned glove. His exocet's left forearm was torn open, the display dead. Didn't matter. He wasn't here to monitor vitals. He already knew pain, dehydration, muscle strain, and anger. His HUD had flatlined 2 nights ago, during the orbital blast. One moment he was coordinating evac routes from the southern ridge. The next, fire rained down from the stars. No warnings. No distress pings. Just light, heat, and screams that cut short like someone flicked a switch. He survived by crawling under a derelict survey pod, more luck than design. When he emerged hours later, the jungle was quiet. Valor was gone. His squad was gone. Command was silent. And now, they were sending cleaners. Through cracked binoculars, Voss watched the new arrivals fan out around the ruined outpost. 7 of them. No insignia. All in kite and black armor with ridged joints and built-in thermal cloaks. Hive talents. Varkari Dominion's special operations. Genetically bred to stalk and dismantle elite targets. Silent, graceful, and cruel. They weren't here for survivors. They were here to erase the Terran footprint. And if they found him alive, he'd be a trophy. Voss slowly exhaled. You sent wolves? He whispered. But I'm the fire. He stood, careful not to disturb the bush line, and moved northwest. 3 days of recon had shown him their patterns. These creatures loved formation. They moved like dancers with blades. But this wasn't a city. This wasn't a clear op zone. This was his jungle now. He reached a natural ridge covered in bramble and creaking mossroot trees. Hidden beneath the gnarled roots was a half-collapsed maintenance tunnel leading to a pre-war survey station. He'd converted it into a crude FOB. Nothing fancy, just scavenged supplies, salvaged equipment, and a quiet place to plan. Inside, he hung his rifle and studied the paper map he'd stitched together from memory and drone wreckage. Colored marks indicated motion patterns. Tripwires were already in place. He'd lined the jungle floor with pulse mines built from mining charges and burst crystals. He had no uplink. No reinforcements. Just a blade, a broken sniper, and 13 years of combat instincts honed in mud, stars, and fire. A sharp clicking noise interrupted his thoughts, 3 quick snaps, followed by silence. He froze. Not a bird. Not a beast. One of them was near. Close. He reached for the thermal scope mounted on the edge of the table and peeked through the cracks in the tree roots above. A figure moved low across the jungle floor, sniffing the air, mandibles twitching. Not hunting. Scouting. A tracker. Voss narrowed his eyes. The Varkari's movement was too confident, too casual. It thought the area was secure. The outpost was burned. To it, the job was almost done. It didn't expect resistance. He slowly picked up the knife from the rack, carbon steel, mono-sharpened, perfectly balanced. The tracker moved under a hanging root coated in sap. It stepped onto a patch of leaves, triggering a faint click beneath its foot. Voss turned away. The mine exploded in a flash of green-white plasma, shredding the air in a tight radius. The tracker was gone. Silence followed. He didn't smile. Not yet. Instead, he pulled out a worn data slate, etched with tally marks. He scratched in one more. They'd know now. They'd regroup. Change tactics. Good. He wanted them cautious. Hesitant. Thinking. Because thinking meant they were reacting. And if they were reacting, they weren't leading. He sat for a moment, breathing in the mossy air of the cave. Memories flickered in the quiet, Chavez laughing on the dropship, Delaney muttering bad poetry over the comms, Leung's constant gum popping. Dead. All of them. He rolled his shoulders and muttered, "I'll burn them for each of you." Night came fast in the jungle. No dusk, just a snap into darkness. The hive talons would shift to infrared. Voss had set thermal decoys among the tree trunks, flares timed to mimic breathing patterns. He moved under cover, silent and efficient, setting more traps and noting where the alien patrols rotated. They were systematic. Clockwork killers. But their confidence was their weakness. On Korvax 7, humanity had sent miners and recon units. But what landed with them, what stayed, was something the Valkyrie had never studied. A predator without fangs. A ghost made of wounds and will. The jungle chirped and rustled around him, but he didn't flinch. He crouched beside a collapsed antenna, used it as a perch to scan toward the outpost. Shadows moved. Infrared flared. The kill squad was reacting now. 1 down. 6 left. And somewhere in that cluster their leader. Voss hadn't seen him yet. The others deferred to a central command, someone who paused, then ordered movements. Probably smarter than the rest. Bigger. More dangerous. He'd deal with him last. His body ached. Cuts stung. His stomach gnawed at itself. But he felt more alive now than he had in months. He was no longer a Marine following orders. He was a knife in the dark. They thought he'd die like the others. That was their first mistake. He faded into the brush, silent and unseen, the trees swallowing him whole. Tomorrow, the real hunt began. Korvax 7, Day 5. The kill squad moved faster now. Less precision. More noise. Eli Voss watched them from 50 feet up, lying prone on a thick limb of a moss-choked tree. The weight of his battered pulse rifle pressed into his chest. Through the cracked scope, he tracked the lead Valkyrie, a 4-eyed brute with twin sickle blades folded across its back. It paused beneath him, scenting the air. Thin tendrils twitched from its mouth. Voss didn't breathe. Didn't blink. A second alien appeared behind it, whispering in clicks. The leader nodded and gestured forward with a clawed hand. They moved on. Voss muttered into his collar mic, not to anyone listening, but to himself. "They're sweating. Good." He slid down the trunk silently, boots finding holds by feel. At the base, he crouched beside a rusted mining hauler long since swallowed by vines. One of its fusion cores had ruptured weeks ago, left enough residue to scramble Valkyrie scanners. It made a perfect blind. He clicked a detonator in his palm once. A half-kilometer away, near a shallow creek, one of his decoy nodes blinked online. It radiated a thermal signature mapped to average human respiration. A timed movement loop made it look like someone shifting under camouflage. The aliens reacted instantly. 3 of them broke formation, racing toward the ping with blades drawn. Voss watched their shadows vanish into the underbrush. He whispered, "Run faster." Seconds later, a thundercrack split the air. The creekside trap, a ring of shaped charges disguised as root clumps, ignited with a directional burst. A flash of green fire snapped the treetops. Shards of armor rained down with sizzling blood. 3 confirmed dead. That left 4. The Valkyrie comms lit up. Through the cracked translator on his hip, he picked up fragments. "Prey is unnatural. Evade, scatter, commander awaits." Good. Now they were breaking apart. He turned and jogged toward the western ridge. The terrain grew jagged here, ridges jutting like broken bones from the earth. The kind of ground the hive talons weren't built for, too exposed, too vertical. Exactly why he chose it. As he moved, he planted more traps, wire loops, spike pits, magnetic scramblers. Everything designed to confuse their sonar, blind their motion sense, and disorient their pattern instincts. Each trap had a name etched in the casing. Delaney. Leung. Chavez. Not for drama. For discipline. For memory. Near the ridge summit, Voss spotted one of them, moving alone, scanning the treetops. This one carried a plasma repeater and a shoulder-mounted drone disc that pulsed with scanning waves. Too dangerous to let it report back. Voss dropped flat, aimed through the brush. Wind shifted. He adjusted, waited for the alien to step into the clearing. The shot cracked. The round hit dead center, caving in the sensor dome. The alien dropped, flailing. Voss was already moving, rushing low, rifle slung, blade drawn. The alien tried to rise, but Voss drove the knife through its neck seam, twisted, and yanked it out in one clean motion. The body thrashed, then went still. "4 down," he muttered. He stripped the drone core from the wreck and pocketed it. Could be useful later. A sudden high-pitched shriek echoed through the jungle, not pain, not fear. A call. He tensed. Then he heard it, movement. Heavy. Fast. The commander. The last two weren't hiding anymore. They were coming straight for him. He bolted uphill. Every footstep calculated. No panic, no hesitation. Just the destination, the false camp. 10 minutes of sprinting brought him to the ridgetop hollow, where he'd assembled the illusion. Damaged armor rigged on thermal coils. Scraps of cloth, blood, spent rations. To an outsider, it looked like a desperate holdout. A dying man's last stand. He crouched behind a split boulder and waited. First came the second in command, a taller alien with a ridged skull and dual arm blades. It circled the camp, cautious. Then the commander emerged. Voss finally saw him clearly. Twice the mass of a normal Valkyrie, his armor etched with deep ceremonial grooves. His movements were slower, deliberate. He didn't speak. He simply scanned, then pointed toward the mock campsite. The second stepped forward and vanished in a blast of bone-white plasma. One of Voss's undercamp mines. Directional. Close range. The commander staggered back from the shockwave, shrieking, armor sizzling from the side. He twisted with surprising speed and looked straight toward Voss's position. Voss didn't flinch. He stood. No more hiding. The commander growled in a language Voss didn't recognize, then switched to broken Terran. "You are alone." Voss nodded slowly. "And you're out of backup." The alien charged. Voss didn't move until the last second. He sidestepped, rolled, and fired a burst into the commander's left leg. The rounds barely slowed him. The Valkyrie crashed through the boulder, swinging with claws that shattered stone. They fought in the dust and flame. Voss ducked low, jabbed his blade up into the underarm joint, got sparks and blood. The alien roared and backhanded him into a tree. His ribs cracked. He couldn't breathe. But he forced himself up. The commander rushed again, this time more reckless, more furious. Voss triggered the last charge beneath his feet, a buried pulse mine. The shockwave launched both of them into the trees. Voss hit hard, rolled once, came up coughing blood. But the commander wasn't moving. He twitched, impaled on a broken metal beam sticking from the ground. Voss limped over. The alien looked up, leaking dark fluid. "You not man?" Voss leaned in. "No. I'm what comes after." He stabbed once, clean through the eye cluster. Silence returned. The jungle exhaled. Voss slumped beside the body, breathing shallow. Only one left. Somewhere out there. And it would come. But now, it would come afraid. The apex mistake. Korvax 7, Day 6, Dusk. Blood matted Eli Voss's side, soaking into the torn fabric of his field vest. The rib fracture screamed with every breath, but he kept moving, slow, low, and focused. Pain wasn't the enemy. Hesitation was. The jungle had grown quieter. Birds no longer cried. Even the insects, relentless in their humming, had fallen still. Nature had felt the shift. Only one Valkyrie remained. Voss scanned the treeline from behind a fallen branch wall near the ravine. Nothing. No movement, no heat signatures. This last one was careful. It had seen the commander die. Voss knew the type. The lone survivor. The one who adapts while the others follow. It would be circling now, watching for pattern breaks, waiting for weakness. Good, he murmured. Let's see if it learned enough. He left behind the false camp and moved downslope through a shadowed gully, breath shallow, footfalls silent. His blade rested loose in his hand, the hilt warm from his grip. Every step mattered now. He'd baited this last one for hours, leaving trails, dragging blood over rock, snapping twigs just loud enough to be noticed. He wanted it frustrated. Paranoid. That's when they made mistakes. A distant rustle snapped left. He froze. Then a flicker, too fast for a beast, too smooth for random motion. He turned, stepped sideways just as a thin black disk embedded itself in the tree behind him. A drone dart, sharp and silent. He ducked low and rolled. The tree behind him exploded as another dart burst, spraying acid mist. It hissed through bark and flesh. He crawled behind a boulder, scanning the trees. Then he heard it, a faint, rhythmic clicking. Close. The final hive talon stepped into view, just beyond the ridge. It was leaner than the others, armor worn smooth with age. Not showy like the commander. This one was stripped for survival. Their eyes locked. The alien's mandibles curled inward, a gesture Voss recognized. Respect. Or warning. You saw them die, Voss said. His voice was hoarse. You're still here. Either that's loyalty, or you want to see how I end. The alien didn't speak. Instead, it tossed its ranged weapon aside. Voss's grip tightened on his knife. Blade to blade, huh? He muttered. All right. They met halfway. The alien moved first, slashing wide. Voss ducked, rolled right, and jabbed up at the inner thigh. Metal sang as it caught. The Valkyrie backpedaled, spun, kicked. Voss caught the strike on his forearm, felt bone creak. He lunged with his shoulder, ramming the alien into a tree. They grappled, slipping on wet moss, dirt grinding under boots and claws. A second blade whistled past his face. He twisted, pinned the alien's arm between his own, and drove his forehead into its jawline. Stars burst in his vision, but the Valkyrie staggered. He took advantage, sliced along the ribline seam, opening a shallow gash. The alien roared. It slammed him down, claws at his throat, strength overwhelming. Its free hand rose, blade gleaming green in the dying light. Voss reached blindly. His hand found a sharp stone. He drove it up. Straight through the alien's eye. The Valkyrie spasmed, screamed, but didn't fall. Voss kicked upward, breaking the hold, then scrambled to his feet. He pulled the thermal charge from his belt, thumbed it live. Let's end it, he said. The alien lunged. He threw the charge, point blank into its chest. Boom. The blast lit the ravine in white fire. The shock knocked Voss flat. He rolled, coughing blood, ears ringing. He felt the heat before he saw it, the jungle canopy shivering in the aftershock. He rose slowly, vision blurred. Smoke drifted from the wreckage. The Valkyrie lay twisted on the rocks, chest cavity scorched open. Its claws twitched once, then stilled. Voss limped forward and looked down. Should have brought more friends. He collapsed against a tree, body shuddering. He sat there, listening. Nothing. No movement. No sounds. No threats. Just silence. He'd done it. 7 trained killers. Wiped out by one man. He looked at the sky, now faintly orange through the mist. A streak of silver passed overhead. A signal drone, low orbit. Command must have picked up the beacon he triggered before the fight. He pulled out the cracked communicator from his vest. Barely operational. Static fuzzed through, but a faint voice crackled. Any survivors, respond. Terran command en route. Repeat, is anyone alive on Korvax 7? He pressed the comm. Sergeant Eli Voss. Last man standing. Kill squad neutralized. Coordinates pinged. Evac if you want me breathing. Pause. Understood. Rescue inbound in 6 hours. Sit tight, Sergeant. He looked at the jungle one last time, the trees now still, the wind slow. But he didn't sit. He stood, body trembling, and began walking into the green. He wasn't going back to orbit yet. There were still things out here that hadn't learned what fear meant. Final transmission logged, 1 sentence long. Tell command mission complete. And next time, don't send a team when one man will do.